How's the acoustics in here?
Testing.
Are we pointing this towards you? Look at your audio.
Why are you so fucking loud, dude?
Justin! Yeah. Bullhorn?
Welcome.
Yeah.
This is the first podcast we've ever had on camera.
Yeah. This is awesome. I like being filmed even though my eyesight's so bad I can't see what's actually being filmed over there.
That's right, you don't have to.
Right. No, we appreciate you tuning into this episode. Today's episode is going to be a little Q&A. Plus, Kyle and I are going to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions and how you can stick to yours. That's one thing. Have you ever made a New Year's resolution?
No.
I think I've done a few, but I've never really... I guess I've stuck to them, but not to the point that I can remember. I don't think they've been that drastic to the point where I needed to remember them. It hasn't been like, let's lose 20 pounds this year.
Well, let's get into my first question.
Let's get into your questions.
You ready?
Oh, I am so ready.
What is your thought on New Year's resolutions?
My thought is that people make it as an excuse to finally do what they want to do, and then a week later they forget and they just quit.
I feel like that's commonality with New Year's resolutions. It's, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you do it for a week and a half, not even, and then it just fizzles out.
Yep, my thing is that everybody says, I'll wait till New Year's. Like, everything starts in New Year's. My diet starts in New Year's. I'm going to start a business after New Year's. Like, everything starts in the new year. And then the new year comes around, and they're so acclimated to what they've been doing that, the new year doesn't change them for the better to do of actually what they want to do, right?
Right.
So they're so acclimated to what, for example, what they did in 2020, working from home and whatnot, enjoying life and, continuing to do what they've been doing, that 2021 is coming around the corner. Now we could have a vaccine, so everything could be kind of getting back to where it was, and they could be heading into the office, but now it's like, I want to start a company in 2021, that's my resolution, and now that it's here, it's right in front of your face, it's like, I could wait until like Valentine's Day to start, I'm not ready for it now. It's just an excuse to push shit back even more. That's what it is.
What are you doing with that?
Just move it into the middle. Kyle and I have killed we've killed this whole bottle. We're pretty tuned up. All right, Kyle, what is the best thing that happened to you this past year?
Good question, Cam.
Thank you.
I don't know. Honestly, it might be starting this company. I think it's something that I've wanted to do since probably freshman year of college. I tried to start a clothing company freshman year, and the people I was doing it with, they were like, "Oh, that's too expensive. I don't want to do it anymore." And it's, finally found someone who's stupid enough to put as much money as we can into this and try to make something of it. So. Yeah,
no, I second that. I think that the best thing that happened to me this year was us sitting down and being like, all right, let's start this. Like, what can we do now?
Yeah.
We're not getting any younger. Let's just do it. And Kyle and I took the approach to get after it. And I don't think that it was us being stupid enough to do it. I think that it was us understanding what we wanted to do and finding a way to differentiate ourselves in terms of doing what we want to do.
Right.
And we're going to get into that in this episode, which this is going to be the first episode that airs. That is actually we're going to talk about what actually differentiates ourselves from everybody else.
Yeah, I firmly believe that we have an idea with clothing that no other clothing company, whether it's fitness industry or any other industry, that really has the idea that we have.
Right, and we've done some quote unquote internal testing in terms of running this idea by multiple people to see what their thoughts are for, the idea that we have. And granted, you got to take it kind of with a grain of salt because they're your friends and family and people that are closer to you with the company. So they might, say that it's great, it's fantastic, blah, 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 just because that's who they are in terms of how close they are to the company. You don't know if that's true or if they're just saying that to, pad in the blow a little bit.
Yeah.
So
that's another thing too. If anybody asks you if an idea is good or not, you're hurting them more if you say it's a good idea and it's really not than if you're just honest and upfront. Like,
right,
that idea sucks. Why would you do that kind of thing?
Right. So what do you think is... So we're answering the questions that were basically proposed by people on either my Instagram account, Kyle's Instagram account, or the actual company account. So if we talk about the best thing that happened to us this year, what is the worst thing that happened to you this year? Because I think, like, you can ponder that, but I think one of the worst things that happened to me, if not the worst thing, was being basically 3 months in, ready to go for a prep that just never happened.
That did sting.
Yeah, I mean, being March, I was down weight and I was up muscle, which is exactly where you want to be at that point in time. And shit just hitting the fan in terms of the COVID situation. That was probably the worst thing, which if that's my worst thing, that's pretty good. Like I had a really good year, but I also didn't sit back and let the year ruin me just because it was what everybody was making it out to be. It was still a whole year. It was still months of time. So I made the most of it. So that was the worst thing that happened to me, which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I don't know. I was trying to think of what a worst thing to be. I'll be honest, I don't really know if I've had a worst thing. And I think that, if I would have had a worst thing, it would have been not doing what we're doing right now. I think it would have been me thinking, that, what we're trying to do either won't happen or it's too expensive or, not acting on anything that we acted on thus far. So I don't really know if I've had a bad thing. I think everything that we've done, it makes me feel like we're doing everything we possibly can to get to where we want to be. And if, I hadn't done any of those things, then that would have been my worst thing of 2020.
Right. I think that, like, also to add
bring this closer. I don't know how the volume sounds on the camera.
To add what Kyle was saying is that...
Is it tilted? Yeah, that's big tilt. Does that look straight?
Straighter, yeah. I would say that's pretty on.
All right, yeah, that looks a little bit better.
What were we talking about?
Worst thing of 2020.
And yours was...
I feel like most people would have thought it'd be coronavirus, but coronavirus has helped us a lot. Like
it really has.
Been able to do my 9 to 5 and work on this most of the day, which is awesome.
But to kind of get into our next question, which this will kind of segue into our next question, this has helped us a lot because it gave us the ability to work from home, which nothing has given that to us before, right? So we were working in the office, we had to drive into the office, but now that we're working from home, Colin and I capitalized on it. We capitalized on it to the point of starting a company, and it's led us here. Now in Pennsylvania for this podcast, and neither one of us lives here anymore. But to segue into the next question would be what kind of person makes a successful entrepreneur? Well, it would be something like this. It's to take, a situation that everybody else sees as a downfall and to make the most of it for what you're doing and what you're trying to do. Entrepreneurs aren't, I don't believe that they are born entrepreneurs. I believe that you can turn into an entrepreneur and you can formulate yourself into an entrepreneur, because to me it's somebody that wants to take the status quo or of anything that's been done and find a way to make it more efficient, find a way to better itself, find a way to help more people with a process or a situation that has been done static or the same for multiple years and whatnot. So I think that it can be anybody that wants to change the status quo for the better. So what makes a successful entrepreneur is somebody that actually is willing to do that. And not only willing to do that, but somebody that can withstand the time to do that, because it does take patience and it does take consistency.
Yeah. I think the other thing too that's important is you have to be able to... consistency is key, right? Like we've started this podcast, and I think that, before 2 episodes ago, I think our most listened to podcast, according to the site host that we use, was maybe 12, right? Right. But I have more fun recording these podcasts than, I really care about who listens to them. Yeah, I think they're fun. We always have a good time.
We always have a good time.
So, I'm sure, down the road, we'll look back at this and be like, can't believe that our most listened to podcast was 64 views. I'm hoping that within 2 to 3 years, our most listened to podcast will have over 1,000. Who knows?
Oh, I hope so.
Either that or we're just really...
we just like looking at ourselves and hearing ourselves talk. But I think that this being the first video podcast, I think that, this is a good step for us. We started just with the audio, and now that we're working our way into actual videography, to me, it's better. I know that people actually like to see expressions. They like to see faces. They like to see how it plays out in front of them with the words, right? So when we do have hosts in the future, or not hosts, but guests. Sorry, we're the hosts. When we do have guests in the future, I think that it would be good to vlog it in a way.
Sure. No, I agree.
So should we get on to the next question?
Yeah.
And would you like to go? Good. So you're winding up for it.
Soft or crunchy tacos?
Soft or crunchy tacos? I used to be a soft shell type of guy in terms of my tacos. But I think I like the crunchy tacos now. It's less of like a burrito take. I like the crunchy taco more because I turn it more into like a salad instead of the burrito type.
Interesting. I like crunchy if I'm going to order it and eat it right away. But if I'm going to order it and then eat it like on a drive home or something, or if I'm getting it to go, I'll get soft because it's just going to get soggy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I like both.
Yeah.
I don't have preference.
Both are good. It's just, it depends on what you want at that point in time.
Yeah.
Am I capable of starting a business? What do you think?
Is anyone capable?
Is anybody? Whoever asks are they capable of starting a business?
I'd say so.
Do
you think we're qualified?
There's really nothing that qualifies you to start a business.
Right.
It's just a matter of if you actually want to start the business and if you're willing to put in the work and the time and the money and the effort.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any stipulation that says, like you go to college or high school to grab a degree. There's nothing that you need to go through that gives you a degree that says, now I'm qualified to start a business.
Yeah,
right. I think that, anybody can start a business if they're willing to put those few things into it in terms of time, money, and effort. It does take a lot of stress. It does take patience. It takes time. But, what else do we have in this world, right? If you have time, if you value it, you have some patience if you can manage it, and you can make it happen if you really want it.
Yeah. It goes back to conversations that we had before we even started Ironpulse. Like, why would you live your life looking forward to 2 days on the weekend when you could, work hard and get yourself into a position where you're waking up every single day, whether it's Monday or Friday, and you're just excited for the day. I mean,
right.
Like I don't wake up and I'm pumped to do my 9 to 5. It's just not that much fun. It's something that I know that I'll have to do until quote unquote retirement, whenever that might be. There's nothing that I can wake up, huh?
When Medicaid kicks in.
Yeah. Honestly. Like why would I live my life just looking forward to those, that Friday evening into Saturday and Sunday? Well, I mean, I don't know if people wake up and they're excited for Sunday because it's their last day before Monday, but I mean, living my life for 30 years like that just sounds awful. Why wouldn't I do something where I can wake up on a Tuesday and be pumped as fuck for a Wednesday, just as excited as I am for a Friday night or a Saturday morning?
Exactly. There's no reason to live your life waiting for 2 days of the week instead of all 7. Like Kyle and I, for example, what he was talking about in addition to is that we have calls every day of the week. And we look forward to Sunday because we're in a call at 8 my time, 10 your time, talking about the newsletter that's going out Monday morning. On Sunday night, we're talking about what's going on Monday morning. And we enjoy this stuff because we get the chance to provide information and provide just basically what we've experienced, learned, and understood to people that, whether it's one person, 20 people, 200 people, who's ever on the other line, the receiving line, we have the chance to hopefully feed that information that's going to save you that time. It's going to save you that effort, of basically putting forth so that you can learn that information and like what we're providing instead of having to necessarily go fish for it yourself.
Right.
Because Kyle and I, I'm not gonna lie, we've wasted a ton of time in terms of looking for the correct information that we were actually looking for, we were fishing for. I wouldn't say, maybe it's not wasted time, that might be a bad choice of words, but we've put a lot of time towards research and just looking for what we were actually wanting in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's what Kyle and I are trying to give back. We're trying to provide information that will benefit you, not only in the short run, but also in the long run, that you can run with now.
Right.
So, you want to ask a question?
Sure. So this is a question that I get asked a lot. The question is, why do you wear fake glasses?
Why do you wear fake glasses? So
for everybody that doesn't know, these are fake right here. They're not actual glasses, and they don't help me see any better.
Prescription-wise,
right?
Because, like, I do wear those, so those clear glasses,
right?
But they have a quote-unquote, like, UV blue light blocker, which my doctor literally asked me today, because I had an eye appointment today, they literally asked me, like, does that stuff help you? And it was like, well, I think it does, but in terms of, I didn't measure from 1 month to like 4 months of using
it.
So
I don't really know how you measure it, but like the main reason I got them was so that I could look at a screen, and I used to get really bad migraines when I was working. I'd get up in the morning, look at a screen, and being on my phone, I'd look at a screen all the time. So I was like, why don't I get something that would probably help? And so I got these glasses, and I got them, and I kind of liked the way that they looked. And then people were like, oh, you look good wearing them. So then I was like, I don't have an excuse because I'll wear them out to the bar. So, like, how often am I going to wear glasses at a bar for blue light? Like, when am I going to see blue light at a bar? But, like, so people were like, oh, you look good wearing them? And I was like, you know what, whatever. So it kind of just became, like, my trademark thing. And now I'm just known as, I'll go to a bar with my friends, and I'll meet someone, and they'll be like, hey, ask him if his glasses are real. I'm like, well, they're fake.
What a terrible wingman.
They're awful.
Ask this dude if his glasses are real.
That's their go-to line. They're like, hey, ask him if his glasses are real.
They need a better line.
Great, they're not. So
right. So I have a question. Do I need a business plan? So somebody asking this, do you need a business plan for your business? What's your take?
Yeah, I think they're helpful because you kind of, business plan is something you typically would start prior to, I guess, making actual legitimate strides to starting your business. So it's something to where you can kind of lay out the foundation. It's literally the building block of your business. And so I think the most important part of a business plan is like, what's your vision and where do you want to be in like 10 years or 5 years? It's kind of like laying out. So like, okay, that's my goal. And then you talk about the Elon Musk quote all the time where it's like, take your 5-year plan and try to squeeze it into 12 months or 8 months. You're not going to hit your goal, but you're going to be a hell of a lot farther than if you tried to actually follow the path of a 5-year plan, if you smush it into 8 or 12 months. And so it's like, if you kind of outline the foundation and you say like, okay, I want to be here in 10 years, then what can you do in this next week or 2 weeks or month that is, that might be your plan in 4 to 5 months, and how can you get closer to that goal in these next 2 weeks? And overall, business plans are just going to kind of help you keep focused on that goal. Like Cam and I had a goal earlier before we started the company that we wanted to launch in late January, early February. I think February 1st was our first launch date, and like so that was our business plan. Like, right, we did everything possible, and we're still doing everything possible to try and hit the earliest launch date that we possibly can, and everything with back and forth and all these things that we had never experienced before. Like, we had design plans and things like that, and everything got pushed back, and so now we have a new launch date, and we're still doing everything possible because like that's the launch date that we set in our business plan, and that's what we're looking for. So we're going to do everything in our power to try to hit that. And without a business plan, we probably would have just been rolling with the punches. Like, sure, push it back. But like, we know we have a set date, and we're going to do everything in our power that we can do to try to hit that launch date. And so I think overall, my thought on a business plan is it helps you lay out the foundation. And when you have a good foundation, you're going to have a good plan overall, and it's going to help you get there as quick as possible.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I think that you don't necessarily need your business plan to be ironed out to have all the details
it's not
that
set
you need.
In stone at all.
Right. It's not set in stone. It's going to change. It's going to adjust, and it should adjust with when you adjust and with when you flow into a few different categories and continue to add to it. Like I agree with everything Kyle was saying. A business plan is important. I think that you should have something to that extent of knowing what you want to do, because if you don't know what you want to do and what you want to create, how the hell do you expect to move forward? You can't move forward if you don't know what you actually want at this point in time, right? You don't know what you want to create, you don't know what you want to build, you don't know what you want. Well, then you can't move forward. You need to lay down who your market is, who you're trying to target, what your product is, how you differentiate yourself, a little bit of your finances. You should know what you're gonna spend, what you should expect to spend, what you expect your margins to be, your profit, your gross profit, your net profit. It's all different, right? You should roughly lay this out, right? Start with numbers that make sense to you, and then you can kind of sift into the fine detail, which is what Colin and I kind of did. We started with a business plan. We started with a business plan to get from point A to point B, and then we laid it out heavily up above, right? We laid it out to a point of, okay, it's pretty broad, and then we narrowed it down as we got into each segment. And I think that we formulated a pretty good business plan. Our business plan's about, I think it's close to 30 pages. I would say it's probably 28, 29 pages. Does every business plan need to be that long? No, it doesn't need to be that long. If you have more to explain, if you have more to offer, yes, it should be pretty detailed and pretty significant. But it doesn't need to be that long, because the business plan is usually going to go to basically your attorney. It could go to anybody that wants to invest in your company for crowdsourcing, angel investors, whatever the case may be. And so you don't want to give away all your secrets and all your details, but you should have enough that is able to explain to people in an executive summary and or in some more detail as to what your company is, what your company is about, and where is your company going. That's basically what it should explain. And how you're going to get there. How do you plan to get there? It's not like you just, flip the switch and all of a sudden you're where you want to be. Right. That's not how it happens. If it was, Kyle and I, we'd be there, right? But...
All right.
Yeah.
So, what is the first step to starting a company?
If I had to answer that, it would be to find... If you want to work by yourself, I think that the first step to finding your company is identifying what your company is and what your company wants to provide. If you plan to work with somebody, your first company or your first plan should be to find somebody. If you want to work with somebody, should be to find somebody that meshes with the idea as to what you want to actually create, right? So if you're a multi-member LLC, you should want to be and work with somebody that formulates what you want. Because if you have somebody that's going to clash with you the whole time, you're never going to make it anywhere. You're going to be just arguing the whole time to the point of all of a sudden you're 2 months in and your company's dissolving. That's just how it's going to be. But, if you're going to work by yourself, you should ask yourself, okay, what is the company I want to create? Why do I want to create it? You should never lose that why factor as to why you're here. What made you want to do this in the first place, right? And all of a sudden, here we are. You should know what your company represents and what you want to provide.
I think that's a good answer. My answer to that question is to just start. I found out myself, and this is through doing this with Cam, that the only way that you're going to make progress in doing anything that you're trying to start is to just start doing what you say you're going to do. You can go months upon months with saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and every day you find a reason to not do that thing. And I think, if you want to start a business or anything like that, the first thing you need to do is just start. Whether that's researching your market, researching your idea, researching whatever it might be, you have to start and you have to have an endpoint. You have to say, okay, what do I have to do today to get to that end point. So, I mean, I think you just got to start.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to make hella mistakes. Cam and I have made so many mistakes, it's not even funny. You're not going to find a business. You're not going to have an idea or something that like you want to start, and you're going to have a straight linear path to success to that end point. You're gonna go up. You're gonna go straight down. You're gonna go up another 200 feet. You're gonna go down 4,000 feet. Like there's no linear path to success, and the only way you're gonna figure everything out is if you just start and you figure it out on the way.
Nobody's ever went from point A to point B.
No, and that's the thing. Like we talked about this on the podcast with Chase and Devontae. Like you don't see someone that's successful until they've already made it. Meaning you don't notice someone new. I mean, sometimes there's instances where you find someone. Obviously that's how they got to that point. Like people find them when they're small. But more oftentimes than not, you're not going to see someone that's successful on social media or any of these platforms or any business they start until they've already quote unquote made it. And like made it is something that, is different to a lot of people, but you're not going to notice them until they've already got hundreds of thousands of followers or all these things. And then you sit there and you're like, wow, well, they're so lucky, You scroll back 2 or 3 years and you're like, wow, they had this many at this point in time. And now they're, 2 years later, they're at this point. But you don't really sit there and think like, okay, 2 years ago they were at this point and they did all of this work every single day. We talked to Devontae, and Devontae said he even started a podcast, or not a podcast, he started a vlog. He did a daily vlog for 80 days in a row. And he would get 10 to 12 views every single video. And he's like, what am I doing wrong? And then he started a vlog where it was like day in the life of a Division III athlete, basketball player. And that blew up. It got like 100,000 views. And he's like, okay.
He was close to 2 million on the one.
Yeah. And so like he's like, okay, people are really, and he started to put 2 and 2 together. People are really curious on what a day in the life of a Division III basketball player looks like. And it's like, why would someone be curious in that? So he started making videos that were, relating to Division III basketball, and that's what blew up. And it's like, he made daily vlogs. So he recorded himself every single day and then uploaded that to some editing site, edited the video, put it on YouTube for 80 days in a row and got 10 to 12, maybe that was the max views per day. And like nobody really sees that until they see where he's at now. And he's got like over, 300,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, he's at like 400, and people are paying attention now.
Right, and so it's like, you don't see their progression as they start until they've already quote unquote made it. And
it's
like
people are followers.
And once they make it, it's like, oh, well, they had it so easy. They got lucky. And it's like, no, you go through all the steps and stuff like that. All right, just start back.
So speaking of questions, how much money have you spent on your company?
To answer that question, it's been a lot. I mean, Cam and I both work full-time jobs where we're salary. Very fortunate to have the jobs that we have, but I mean, I'll be completely transparent. Our savings are not very high. It's something where we fully believe in what we're doing right here, and so we think that if we fully divest everything that we can into this business. Our hope is that within a year or 2 years, we can fully quit our full-time 9-to-5 jobs and fully focus on what we're trying to do here. And I think that, our main, so Gina actually asked this question on our podcast, like, what is our why? We talked about what the why is. If you guys haven't listened to the podcast, it's on our Spotify. Gina's one of our leaders. And so we kind of posed a question to her, like, what is her why? Like, what is her reason behind doing what she's doing? And I think that we can kind of answer that why with the one question that was asked to us was, what does our brand offer that we think that other apparel companies are lacking? I think this right here is the thing that we've been saving for months on months, because this is the one thing that sets us, Ironpulse, apart from every single other apparel company in the clothing industry. We have done our research. We have not found a clothing company that's going to be doing what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's like something that's, whether it works or not, I mean, I think that the fact that we even like kind of thought about it and
here's the way to put that is this will work. We will get this to work because there's no other option for us.
Right. And yeah.
to answer that question, is to what Kyle was saying, is this is the stuff that we've been beating around the bush about, we've been hinting at, we've been talking about for months on months on months on months. And him and I have talked to other people. We've, brought this idea up to, people that are closer to us and not like far enough away to the point where they'll give us their honest opinion. Because, people that are close to you, they'll give you their like honest opinion, but it'll be in a way to like, benefit you and to, be nice to you. We want the hard truth. And Kyle and I first thought about this idea. Wow, we were in a call. And it was like late at night. It was probably, I don't know, like not 9 my time, maybe 11 Kyle's time when he picks up the phone when I call that late. And we had struggled. It's no lie, like we struggled to figure out like, okay, how can we differentiate ourselves from other apparel companies?
We started out as athletic wear. I mean, if you look at our first 5 launch items, like we were determined to go into the athletic wear apparel market. Right. If you look at our first 5 items, like it was right. Like, we want to be, we want to be the next Alphalete. We want to be the next Gymshark. And I mean, Cam called me the one night and he was like, that it's too saturated. Like he asked me straight up, he said, how are we going to do that? And my response to him was, I don't know. I feel like that at that point, it's not one of those things where you can continue on that path and say, we'll figure it out when we get there. Mm-hmm. Like we had to make a decision and say, okay, are we gonna enter this market that's already extremely saturated? And if we do, how are we gonna be different? Or he posed a great question. He was like, why don't we start a new segment? Why don't we create a new segment in the apparel market that no other clothing company has or that, has started before?
Right. In doing so, to what Kyle and I talked about, it was, we sat here. I know exactly where I was. I was driving to the gym at this late hour, and I'd called Kyle, and I was like, my man, like how can we be different? This shit is way too saturated. Like athleisure wear and influencers have become a household name for everybody that wants, everybody wants to be a part of athleisure wear. Everybody wants to be an influencer. That's just how it is. So it's like, okay, we can't do that because we're behind the 8 ball. We got to figure out how we can be ahead of that and what we can do to not only be ahead of that from the start, but continue to trend upward in a positive, incline. And we had literally talked, so we had talked for months about what can differentiate us. Did not come up with much.
It's hard. I mean, like
it is not easy.
And we thought long and hard about it, and then Cam was, kind of going towards the track of like, what's our main why as to why we wanted to start this company, and it was like, we want other people to realize that 9 to 5 after college is not the only path in life. Like if you have some type of idea or some type of passion that you like and you want to follow, then you have to start. That, like I mentioned earlier in this video and podcast, is you have to at least start. Whether that's, if you want to be a streaming gamer where you review video games, that's what I almost said. If you want to be some type of streamer that reviews video games, you have to start. You're not just going to one day start a video game review video and it's going to get 4 million views. You got to start reviewing games. You got to start understanding what people want to understand about those games and like what is going to get you to be noticed by other people in that industry. And it was like,
right.
Like we have to do something. What's our main motivation? What's our why? I mean, I kind of referenced that earlier. I don't know if we really got to it yet, but our why was, we want to start something that allows other people to start their passions as well. And so with that, Cam was spitballing ideas, and he's like, why don't we start vision wear? It's something that's different than athleisure wear. It's something that's different than athletic wear. It's something that's different than, fitness wear. It's vision wear. And the purpose behind vision wear is, you wear something or support something that in return is going to give back to you in the long run to help support your vision. Everybody has a vision in life. I don't really know if I've ever met someone, and that's totally fine if this is your vision, that wants to work 9 to 5 for the rest of their life. If that's your vision and you want to become the CEO of some company, major corporation, totally fine, go for it. But that is still your vision, and other people might have a vision that's outside of the 9 to 5, and it's like, how can we as a company capture those individuals and say, okay, we know that you don't want to work 9 to 5 the rest of your life. You might not be ready to make that jump into doing something that would put you closer to that goal, but how can we as a company help just be there to support you whenever you're ready to make that jump?
Right. I mean, that's just like, if you want to be a CEO of a 9 to 5, that's just not our target audience. It's no lie. You're not our niche. You're not our demographic.
It's not.
But that doesn't mean you can't be a part of it. Yeah, that
right.
doesn't mean you can't be a part of the brand. And Kyle and I were talking in this call. We had spent months, back to what I was getting to, we had spent months talking about different ideas, different ways to shape this company. Literally, we had come across a few ideas, but nothing that we knew was that it. And literally in this, I don't even know, 8-minute call, we had basically established the brand for what it was going to become. And, I think that we're ready to get into, I mean, you talked a little bit about the visionware, which is investing in like-minded individuals. You have, to what Kyle was saying, is you have that outerwear, you have that casual wear, you have that athleisure wear, that athletic wear, that knitwear, that pajama wear, whatever the case may be. We are
All right, so let me ask the question.
Visionware.
Let me ask the question. What makes Ironpulse different than any other clothing industry, any other clothing business in the clothing industry?
The fact that we're doing what we're doing, and what that is we're investing back into like-minded individuals. We are going to be the first company in history that actually invests money back into their consumers. There is no other company in the world that puts money back into the consumers outside of maybe a loyalty program, but the loyalty program it's 100% spent around you eventually putting that money back into the company, right? So you might get a $50 gift card, but that $50 gift card has to be spent on like Sephora goods or Gymshark goods or Alpha League goods or whatever the goods are that the company that you actually have the gift card for. So where we differentiate, where we get that competitive advantage, where we set ourselves apart from every apparel company in the world, and maybe every company, I don't think this has ever been done, is the fact that Kyle and I invented Visionware, we invented the Vault, we're pioneering both, and what we do with that is that we give back. We match 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 on whatever tier level you're in. 1 tier, 2 tier, 3 tier. That's what we match 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1. We give back and we invest. We invest because we invest in you, the consumer, as to be all in. If you want to be all in, we'll invest. We invest back into you as a consumer to make that side hustle, make that dream job, make that whatever. You're breaking away from that 9 to 5, right? You're out of the status quo. Making that happen, Kyle and I are more than happy to support that. And we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're making that happen. We are the first company. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of companies in the apparel industry created each day. The fact that we sit here, and we know that this is a good idea, and we're going to make this happen, but we sit here talking about this, talking about how we're giving back to the consumer group. This has not been done before.
Let me lay out the scenario. I as a freshman in college, I knew I wanted to start a clothing company, but I was still buying clothes from other companies. I was buying clothes from Alpha League, I was buying clothes from Gymshark, I was buying clothes from Nike. All their taglines: Nike, just do it; Alpha League, do more, be more, dream more; Gymshark, be a visionary. All of those taglines, they're basically saying buy our products, and our products, once you buy them and once you spend money on them, they'll help you do what you want to do. None of them are mission backed, meaning, that's their mission. They want you to do that, but whether you actually do that or not is up to you, and it's only up to you. Whereas, being Ironpulse, I was like, if there was a company out there where I knew I didn't want to work 9 to 5 the rest of my life as a freshman, before I even knew what I wanted to major in, I knew I didn't want to sit behind a desk, work 9 to 5, and then just look forward to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I didn't want to do that. I knew that. And if there was a company out there that allowed me to purchase their clothes, and like I said, we started off as a fitness wear brand, but our second launch that we have, we're going to have clothes across the spectrum. And we have ideas and visions to take this way larger than anything that's, mainly just fitness or casual wear or streetwear or business professional wear. And if there was a company out there that said, straight up, if you purchase our clothes somewhere down the line, we're going to invest back into you, depending on whatever tier you're in, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, either double, triple, or exact to what your points you have as an investment back to you, not as just money back, but it's an investment for you to start your dream or for you to start your passion. I mean, it would have been a no-brainer for me to purchase from that company that's selling clothes that are, up to par in terms of quality, up to par in terms of, design, up in par in terms of, the different types of fashion trends that are currently going on. It would have been a no-brainer because I knew I wanted to do something down the line. I just wasn't ready to take that jump. And if I invest into a company that I know isn't going to, be mission back and invest back into me, it's a no-brainer. Why would I purchase from companies that are just going to take my money and say, okay, now that you have your clothes, now you're ready. You can go ahead and do what you
can take on the day.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah. No, I completely agree. And let me just provide some examples to that. Gymshark is who they are today because they pioneered influencer. They were the first brand to actually use people to build their brand.
And they did it really
well, and it just grew from there. Summer shredding is the reason why Alpha Elite is where it is today.
Yeah.
Alpha Elite sells good stuff. Of course they do, right? Christian has been a hardworking guy since, I've met him and since we've known him, right? And known of him. And the reason why Alpha Elite is the way that it is today and as big as it is today is because of summer shredding. So the learn more, be more, dream more it's a great slogan, but what makes that action-packed, mission-backed is the point of his summer shredding, where he helps hundreds, thousands of people change their lifestyle in a summer, right? In a few months, and that's what sets them apart from Gymshark and the rest of the industry. What sets us apart is the vision wear, which I swear to you, because everybody looks at, okay, what is in it for me? They buy clothes, okay, how can I benefit? What am I getting for this? What am I saving? How's this going to fit? How's this going to feel? What's a comfortable state on this? What's the material made out of? It's all about, me, right? Because you're spending that money. I wouldn't expect it to be about us. I'd expect it to be about you, the consumer. So what's also in it for you? Not only all of those things that I just mentioned, but it's also the fact that you have that ability to not only, 1, put it back into future purchases, 2, you can donate whatever your points are to a nonprofit, charity, or volunteer group in your name. We'll make that donation in your name and we'll also match it. 3, the vault will invest back into you, which is the very first company in any industry that we can find to invest back into its consumer group with real money. We're not talking, some coupon discount code that you have to put back into the company for future purchases. We're talking about you provide your PayPal name, your Venmo name, and we will send this money. We'll match it 1-to-1, we'll match it 2-to-1, we'll match it 3-to-1 on your tier group, and we'll put it into your startup, we'll put it into your foundation, we'll put it into your book, your podcast, your music, your products. Because that's what our niche is, that's the demographic that we're trying to hit. And guess what? It's going back to you. And we're the first company to do that. Yeah. And we haven't done that yet, but that's exactly what we're leaning towards doing. That's exactly what Colin and I are going to do when we go to launch. Literally the first company to do that. And that's what we landed on because that's what differentiates us. And that's our demographic. That's the niche that we're trying to target and what we're trying to be in. and we're going to make it happen because we've been making it happen since March.
Yeah.
It's crazy it's been this long. It really is.
It has, almost a year in.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you think about it, dude, it's kind of crazy that we had an idea and we started it and we're getting bulk production within a year. You know what I mean? Like we were like, all right, let's start a clothing company, and it was like, all right, how are we gonna start it? And then, you know, we first started like, okay, you know, athletic wear, all that stuff, and so that was our first launch design. And then we're like, wait a second, way too saturated. How the hell are we gonna break that market?
Right.
Completely, you know, I don't want to say 180 or completely flipped it because it wasn't really too far off from what we already wanted to kind of establish with this brand. But it was like, you know, we're changing the direction. So, I mean, that goes back to the business plan. You have a business plan. It's not set in stone. You can change it whenever the hell you want. And so we changed our business plan around, and now we're headed in a direction that, you know, we feel comfortable and confident going in because nobody else has done it before. And when you find an idea or something, whatever market it's in, and you think, okay, you know, that's good, but I can do it better, fucking do it. Just start. That's the first thing you have to do is you have to start doing that thing, and you have to prove all those people that are doing the other thing that you can do it better.
Right.
And then what are they going to do? They're going to say, okay, you know, this guy or these people that came out of nowhere are doing it better than we're doing. How can we, you know, correct our ship? How do we start competing with them?
Right.
And you literally start a whole movement in an industry that's already well saturated, and then, you know, people are looking at you like you're a genius when in reality you just got two guys that, you know, in the midst of coronavirus were just like, you know, let's start a clothing company. How far can we make it? You know, what's our main driver? What's our why? Why are we starting this brand? And, you know, before you know it, if you do things day by day, inch by inch, you'll look back 4 months from wherever you started and you'll be like, wow, I made it, you know, pretty far.
Yeah, the puzzle pieces start to come together.
Yeah.
They really do. And, you know, to what you were saying is that we're setting ourselves apart, and it's not like it happened overnight. It took us a few months.
Yeah, definitely didn't happen
to get to where we want to be. But what we did was we started.
Yeah. Every day.
And it's not like we came in here with prior experience. It's not like neither one of us was working for a fashion company.
Nope.
We came in with the drive to want to learn. And not only want to learn, but like wanting to execute. And we did both. And we're continuing to do both. It's a big one.
Someone asked me recently, they asked me how many clothes we're selling. And I said, you know, a couple thousand. And they said, how the hell are you going to do that? I looked them dead in the eye and I said, I have no idea. I mean, it's what days are it now? December 24th, 2020?
Christmas Eve, man.
Christmas Eve.
Here we are.
It is Christmas Eve, and you know we're planning on launching in a few months. And I tell you right now, I still have no idea how we're going to sell those clothes. But I mean, it's something that, you know, and I listened to a podcast earlier by another individual, Andy Frisella, and he talked about fear. And it's like you can't make your decision based off the fear, meaning you can't say, okay, that's scary, I don't want to do it. You got to look at it and say, well, that's fucking scary, but why don't I at least try? Why don't I at least, you know, you don't want to look back and say, well, what if I would have done that? What if I would have started this company? What if I would have taken that job across the U.S.? What would have happened? You don't want to live your life with that what if. You want to just fucking go for it and try it, at least see what happens. 3 years from now, if this ends up being nothing, at least I can look back and say, you know, me and my good friend Cam, we tried it. We gave it everything we had.
Good friend Cam over here. Here's the thing. All these,
but like, you know, you gotta try it. You can't live your life with that what if. If you live your life with that what if, then you're losing.
I've had too many what ifs. I'm glad, you know, we took this step. And the thing is, with all these companies, it's always about what's the biggest discount you can get, right? Like, what's the discount that I can find on like Groupon or whatever it is. And it's how much percentage can I get off?
Yeah.
Because as a consumer, it's what is in it for me? Like, what's the best deal can I get? Not only are we giving you that deal, but we're giving you that deal up front, but we're giving you a great tangible item, and we're giving you help on the back end. We're literally following through from beginning to end on what the process is, and you're benefiting from the beginning if you use a coupon code, in the middle with a great product that you ordered, and on the end when you eventually take those points and turn it into cash for you.
Yeah.
Because we feel for you. Kyle and I have been in that position. Neither one of us is rolling in dough. We're not rolling in money, right? But we're in that position where we have, we've thought about how we're going to pay for this certain item or this software or whatever the case may be this next month of expenses. And we want to help, where we can, because we've been in your shoes in terms of what, how can I afford this month of business expenses?
It's scary taking that step. Like, you can't look at starting something and think, oh, that's, it goes back to, like, you see someone that's really successful. Like, they didn't just wake up one day and they were super successful. Like, they woke up one day and they said, okay, this is where I want to be in 3 or 4 years or whatever their plan might be. And they said, what can I do right now that will get me closer to that goal? And when you wake up and you have that thought, like, it's scary. When me and Cam were talking to suppliers about clothing and things like that, and we were going over our prices, that was scary to me. Like, I have all these friends who are talking about all these savings that they're having with coronavirus, and they're moving back home and they're still working their full-time salary jobs, and they're like, I'm saving so much money. It's like, I sat there and I'm like, yeah, like, that's awesome. But, like, I'm on the inside, I'm like, I have, like, virtually not a lot of savings very much,
Right.
like, because everything that we're putting into is in this business. And, it's a scary thought at first, but when you have that long-term vision and you say, okay, I know where the potential can lie with this route that we're going, it's not really, that much of a concern to me. Like, I don't feel terrible putting money into this business because I know where it can go. Whereas if I was taking the money that I was making and putting into, like, materialistic or intangible items, like if I was, I don't know, if I bought a car that I clearly couldn't afford, I would feel, way worse than putting that same amount of money into this company that I know can be something in the future.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Should we hop into another question?
Yeah, let's get a good question going.
You want to talk about how can people improve customer service? That was the question, is how can I improve customer service?
I'd say the biggest thing with customer service, put yourself in a customer's shoes. If you have an issue with something and you email something, whether it's a customer service email or a company, what's your, you obviously have an issue. What do you want back? To me, the first thing back is a response.
Right.
Like, I want to know that the company that I'm concerned with or I have an issue with sees my problem and is able to respond quickly. I'm not talking automated emails that says we have received your response, we'll respond in 24 hours. Like, make it a personal connection. Have someone that's dedicated to receiving that customer request, clearly looking at the issue, doing all the necessary things in the back end to say, okay, this is what we're going to do for your issue, and respond back within, a day or 2 business days. Put it in your terms of service. Say, okay, our terms for our website, whatever issue you have, if you email us, we'll get back to you within 2 business days. That way, that gives them a time frame. And if you don't get back to them within those 2 business days, then you messed up as a company and you need to provide them, like, something better in return than what their current issue is, in my opinion.
Right. No, I agree, because I think what I was going to say is that we had talked about this, but not to the extent of what we're getting into here, is that as a company, if you are personally going to respond, I say 2 days or less.
Right.
To at least make people know that you're looking, you see it, you see the issue, like you've gotten the email, you confirmed receipt of the email. If I get the automated email, I get it. You can't get to everything right away. However, your automated email should say, a representative, somebody will be in touch within 24 to 48 hours. You still have that 2-day span, right? So, like, either, you confirm receipt with an automated email and you get 1 to 2 day span and then you personally respond to the email, or, like, you have that 24 hours of which you personally respond to that email up front without the automated email. Because, like, we hate automated emails, but, like, we understand that not everybody can get to it at a certain point in time. So, like, an automated email may be necessary, right? But you need to take care of the situation at hand, or at least let people know that they're important. Kyle and I have been in the position where we've literally been told that we're not a precedence, we're not important to companies that we've been working with. Nobody as a company and as a consumer wants to feel that and or hear that, especially. That's the quickest way to lose business, is to basically be told that, yeah, we don't need you. Your business will not last with them.
And in the end, if you think about it, like the reason that a company, any company, you have to have customers, right? And the reason that any company is successful is because they have a consistent or, a loyal customer base. And anytime you break that loyalty barrier, it's extremely hard to get that customer back. And, I think that it's something that we're going to try to do with Ironpulse moving forward. And, not that we've had any customers so far because we haven't launched anything, but, customer service is definitely going to be a priority. If you've got an issue, and you know us personally, or you have a contact for anything, email us, send us anything. We're going to get back to you within 2 days or less. Like that's our promise.
Right.
And, you guys are the ones that are going to help bring us to success. And with everything that we're doing, mission backed and our loyalty program, we're going to get back to you guys just so that you can do the same. Cause that's what we want to see people do. We don't want to see people suffering 9 to 5, looking forward to the weekends. Cause in my eyes, it's just not fun. I talk to people all the time, and I'm like, how's work? And they're like, oh, it sucks. It's like, why? It's just like silly. Like, why would you think of it like this way? If it's a weekend, if it's Saturday or Sunday, and you hate weeding or if you hate mowing the grass, doing whatever chore, landscaping maybe, why would you wake up on Saturday or Sunday and make that your first thing to do? If you don't have anything else to do, why would that be your first thing to do?
Right.
Why wouldn't it be something fun? Why wouldn't you, if you like drinking beer, why wouldn't you start reviewing different beers across the U.S.? Why wouldn't you start visiting breweries across the U.S., giving reviews on them? Someone who's interested in going somewhere to try a new beer or try a new brewery, look up, okay, best breweries in Cincinnati. Okay, maybe your video is highlighting the best breweries in Cincinnati. Maybe you start making a living off YouTube. There's so many different things you can do, and like just waking up on Saturday or Sunday and like thinking like, okay, why would I want to do this? It's just like, do something that makes you happy. Do something that you're passionate about. Right. Even if it's a side hustle. If it's a side hustle for 4 years and then the 5th year it turns into a full-time job, that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and on year, you're going to be living the time of your life. You're going to be doing what you love.
Yeah, you're closer. Those 4 years mattered. Even though you think that 5th year is the one that made you, that those 4 years mattered.
Yeah. So we'll get into another question here. Do you and Cam ever get into arguments? It's a good question.
It's a great question. Kyle and I don't get into arguments. More or less, we get into disagreements sometimes, but it's not. We've probably got, in this 9 month span, we've probably gotten to maybe like 3 or 4 disagreements.
Yeah.
And it's usually because of, something that he's learned in supply chain, but like I've learned in finance. So it's like, how do they clash?
That's a good. I want to bring up a quick story because Cam works in finance, where it's like, okay, like someone sends him a report and they're like, okay, I want you to do the data information mining, whatever it is you need to figure out, and get that back to me in 2 days. And Cam's like, okay, I got 2 days to figure this out and get it back. And when we started doing, and I work in supply chain where, they're like, okay, we're going to produce this item this day. It'll take 2 weeks to produce, and then we'll get it into the DCs by this day.
Right.
And just going through that process, it's like, okay, well, something happened with the raw materials that went into production. So now it's delayed 2 or 3 days. Something happened with the transportation services. So now it's another 4 or 5 day delay. And literally your 3 week plan to success turns into a 2.5 month plan that's not even successful. And so when we started working with suppliers, they were like, okay, yeah, we'll get back to you on this day. Production will take this long. And then something happened with, the way the machines were set up or the way that the materials went into the product. And then they're like, okay, sorry, it's going to be delayed another 4 or 5 days. And Cam was like, what the hell? Someone sends me something, say they need it in 2 days, I get it back to them in 2 days. And I was like, Cam, I understand that, but I work in supply chain. And like when you're working with actual tangible goods, trying to come up with a completed product, it's a little different. Like it doesn't just marry up in terms of week by week. Otherwise, things like that, like logistically, it would be completely easy.
I think Kyle and I do a very good job at understanding each other. So here's the thing: is we trust each other's judgment. We trust each other's work and our ability to do what we do now on a daily basis. So we listen to each other. Listening to each other, trying to put ourselves in each other's shoes and trying to think and or see it through the other person's point of view I think we do a pretty good job at that because we don't sit here and argue. To answer that question straight up, we don't argue. Right? We might have disagreements, but it leads to us talking it through, and it leads to us finding a mutual agreement that benefits the company. At the end of the day, the company's number one seed. Kyle and I are sitting like 3. We're sitting 3rd seed, both of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Because company, customers, me and Cam.
Yeah, like we're down there to the bottom, and we're fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, because I was explaining this today to a few people that I was talking to is, launch 1 through the first 5, 6 launches, it cannot make us. The only thing it can do is break us. So, right? So that's the thing is you hear this is going to make you or break you. We can't be made in 6 the first 5 and 6 launches. We can't, based on what we forecasted, we can only be broken.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not going to sit here and tear apart each other when we need each other to make this happen for the benefit of the company and the consumer.
And this first launch too, people, I've gotten questions so many times, how much have you guys spent? What's everything going to be priced at? They're the reason they're asking those questions is because they're trying to sit there and say, okay, what's their profit margin? How much are they going to make?
Right.
We are not making very much money at all on this first launch. We're not. We're in the hole. So it's tough to sit there and say this is what it'll cost, this is what it makes, because I don't want them to sit there and think, oh well, they're getting that much money for them. None of it's going to us. It goes into a long story, but back to the original question. I think that why we don't really argue is because Cam will say something, and if I don't fully agree with it, it's not, my first instinct isn't to just say no. My first instinct isn't just to say, okay, no, I don't like that idea, this is what we're going to do instead. My first instinct is, okay, well, explain that to me a little bit more. I don't agree with it at first, but let's talk through it, and we'll be in a call for 2 to 3 hours until finally we're both on the same page. Right? It's not really something that if he says something I disagree with and that's that. It's, okay, you said something, I don't agree with it at first, or vice versa. Let's talk through it so that we fully understand what we're both coming from or what stance we're both coming from, and then we can make a collective decision at the end, whether it's one way or the other. Yeah. I think it works pretty well. I mean, and at the end of the day, it's business, and Cam's one of my best friends. I'm not gonna get pissed because of something he says in a phone call, and next day, I don't want to talk to this guy. It's not a big deal. Just
Kyle and I, we have the same end goals. We're going to eventually build a gym. We're gonna build a brand, whether it's
the traveling gym. That was our first idea.
It's going to happen.
We want to have a gym.
Yeah, it's a matter of time that people travel all over to see.
Right.
And it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen because we're not going to settle for anything less than that happening. And people, I think now people are starting to realize that this isn't a short game. This is a long haul. We're in it. Fucking suck it up. We're going through it. This is how it's going to be. They're starting to understand that. We're going through podcasts. We're starting to get into cinematography and videography. We're getting into all of this other stuff. We're explaining how the brand works. We're explaining how the launch is going and how it's working. And, people are starting to understand the process that it takes, to fulfill what we're doing, what we've been doing these last 9 months. And is it easy? Hell no. Would I go back and do it again? Would you go back and do it again? I would do it. I would do it for, depending on the people that I'm working with. Would we go back and do it again? I would go back and do it again.
Oh, yeah. For sure. There's stuff I've learned doing this that I wouldn't have learned anywhere else. I don't know. I don't even,
so much. There was just so much.
Ridiculous amount
Forging the brand, listen to it. It's all on there.
Tons of stuff, yeah.
Right. We can get into some of these we can answer these last questions pretty quickly. There's a lot. There's a lot of questions. We appreciate everybody asking.
We got a lot of good questions. I did promise I'd ask one question.
Oh God.
To someone that asked one.
All right, then we can ask one. I'll ask this one then. The last one, which is good.
You want to go? I'll go.
Yeah. Go.
How many hoods could you and Cam bench? I'm gonna give a little bit of a backstory. Hood is a nickname for an individual that we both went to high school with. And that person weighs about 185 pounds, I'd say, 190.
I weigh 210. So is it like, how many can I bench?
So how many hoods could we bench together collectively? So what's your max bench?
Dude, I don't know. I put up like hundreds for 10s.
That's dumbbell though.
Yeah, that's dumbbell. What is that?
It's like flat dumbbell or flat barbell.
Yeah, but if I do
I don't know.
10,
so I can do you can do hundreds for 10.
I can do hundreds for 10.
All right, I can't do that many. I can do like 90s for 6. So
what's your max bench like ever?
Max bench I've ever hit. I've only ever done 225.
Okay, I've done 255. So like, but that was also 2 years ago.
It's about 455. What's 455 by like
200? Like 2.5?
So yeah. All right. So Palmer about 2.5 hoods.
Hey Palmer. Love you, buddy. Although I'm pretty pissed that you were in Colorado and we didn't ski together.
Yeah, that's fucked. Don't
talk to me no more.
I texted Palmer and I said, text Cam. Did he text you?
No, of course he didn't.
Really? I sent him your contact.
He has my contact. He was messaging me.
I think he got a new phone because he was like, I don't have Cam's number.
New phone, new disc.
It was one of those. Oh, that's funny.
That's such BS.
Oh, another one too.
Yeah.
And then you go. What keeps you motivated? I think that was a great question.
That's a great question. The simple answer that I have to that is the fact that I don't want to be, like, I don't want to work the 9 to 5. I don't want to be a desk jockey. I don't care what the verbiage is behind it. I want to work for myself. There's one end goal to all of this, and it's to work for myself, and it's to help to, benefit the people around me that are working. I have the motivation and the drive to build that community of brands and people that cross-promote, cross-collaborate, do all of that. Like what Buff Bunny, Alpha Elite, Anaka Power, Ever Forward, Get Better Today, what those brands have created in Texas, like I would love to do wherever we're at, whether it's Colorado, whatever, but better in terms of not only, because they're all like apparel lifting brands, right? I don't want to just stem into that. Like we want to stem outside of that.
Yeah.
And so what keeps me motivated is building something like that. It's not being satisfied with the job that I have. And I have a great job. I've worked for that job. Like I don't know anybody out in Colorado. I moved out there on a fucking whim. Right? So like just doing that by myself, and it paid off well for me. And but what keeps me motivated is just the ability to create what we're creating. It's plain and simple. But how about you?
I'd say for me, I'm not gonna lie, like some of it's materialistic, right? Like I see people driving all these fancy cars, and I'm like, yeah, I really want to do that. I know for a fact I'm not gonna get there as quick as I want working 9 to 5. So that's a little bit of a part of it. I'd say like probably less than 30% of it. The rest of it is just as Cam said, like I want to work for myself. I hear my friends talking and they work different jobs than I do, and I mean some of them are working until like 7 or 8 p.m. and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know how on earth.
Like gym time.
That's me time. Like 9 to 5. At 5 o'clock, I'm like, I'm done with this shit. Like I put my hours in. If you didn't contact me within that time frame, I'm done. I get it. Other people have jobs to where you might have to be on those certain hours, and I'd hope that you're being compensated for putting in the extra hours and whatever it might be. But I can't fathom putting in that much amount of time for that many years in a row just to retire at the age of 60. Like I don't see how that's fun. And for me, my motivation is, I had this idea that I wanted to do this way back when. Couldn't find anybody with the right mindset. After talking with Cam for a while, I knew Cam had the right mindset when he started another company for Nebulous Entertainment. And I was like, I need to start working with this guy. Like, he's got the same mindset. He's driven. Like, we feed off each other's energy. If someone's doing something, it's like, okay, what else can I do? And I wasn't going to find that in a 9 to 5. I wasn't going to find that with the current friend group that I was, associating with. And you have to really surround yourself with those people. And surrounding yourself with those people, like, you just feed off of each other and that motivation. And back to what Cam said about having that collective environment of people that are just working towards a certain goal where, everybody's got their own company that they're working for and everybody's got their own, goals that they want to achieve and everything like that. It's like, that's what I want. I want to wake up every single day and look at what someone else is doing and say, okay, well, they're doing that. I want to do this. Like, just feeding off each other's energy and getting closer to that end goal, whatever the end goal might be.
That was a good talk. I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah.
Are all these questions? Yeah, I mean, man, these are a lot of questions. All right. We got to ask the last one. Did people ask? Are we both single? Is that actually?
Yeah, we're both single.
Who asked that?
It was one of my friends from college.
What's up?
It was a dude, but yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. All right, we're both single.
Yep.
Who's going to get married first?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I don't think... I don't want to say that, I'm not looking for a relationship, but I've had the mistakes in the past of jumping into relationships really fast.
I pulled them out real quick.
Yeah, and I feel like I have to find someone who's got the same...
If you've never gone through this and you're not going through it, you do not understand it. And that's not us saying you're stupid or whatnot. It's just you don't understand. Just like we don't understand your lifestyle of what you're going through, you don't understand what we're going through. So it's very hard to kind of put yourself in our shoes. I feel unless you've done it because we try to overcompensate for some of the shit. Like we may feel like we're missing something.
Like I've talked to people in the past and it happened today where I was like, I worked 9 to 5. I went to church right after, and then I came straight here. And someone was like, "Oh, you haven't messaged me all day. Like, guess we're done." And I'm like, I'm sorry, I haven't been on my phone very much today, and I don't know. To me, it's just you have to.
Are we in middle school?
I don't know. I'm done with drama. I hate drama. I have to find someone who's also on the path of this is where I want to be in 10 years. I'm going to try to fit it in this time frame and find someone who when I'm spending time with them, it's okay, it's just us. We're spending quality time together. We're not looking at our phones. We're not doing other stuff. But when we're not together, it's okay, I'm not focused on what that other person is doing. I know they're doing something in relation to getting closer to their goal. I don't have to ask them what they're doing every 10, 15 minutes to try to see what they're up to. I don't have to call them to try to understand, see if they're talking to other people. I don't care. I know that they're focused on their end goal, and I know that they like spending quality time with me when we're together. And it's I don't really know how to find that right now yet. And when I do find that, it'll be awesome, I'm sure. But I'm just not. I'm not ready to. I'm not one to just.
I'm sure it'll be great.
Who knows? Might suck. I'm not going to be one to just jump into another relationship. I've done that before in the past, and it hasn't worked out very well. So I got to find someone who's got to be on par with. I guess I don't know, just not clingy. I think clinginess, if that's a word, is something that I'm not looking for. I don't need someone that's going to be, tied to my hip 24/7. I can't have that. I need, space to do what I need to do to get to where obviously we want to be. And I need to have trust and honesty that if I'm doing this, I know you're doing something else and I don't have to be worried about what you're doing. Vice versa. You don't have to be worried about what I'm doing if I'm, I don't know. It comes down to trust and honesty. I think when someone doesn't trust you or trust what you're doing, they're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?"
People just piss me off.
Yeah, that too. This could be a whole we could have a podcast
about relationships because it's been the same thing. It's not just Pennsylvania. So all you people in Pennsylvania, it's not just that. It's out west too. It's the same thing. It's what are you doing? Can we go out here? Can we go out there? It's all right, well, I'm in a meeting tonight. I got a few meetings. We got to work on the website. We got to work on this. We got to work on that. We're preparing for the launch. If you do not understand, if you don't understand it, if you've never gone through it, if you're not open to it, if you're not open-minded, you will not get it. And if you don't get it, you take it personally. And if you take it personally, it just adds strain. That's all it does. It just strains what you have with this individual.
Right.
And it leads down a wrong path. You need to be open-minded because once again it comes back to just piss poor communication because you're not communicating. Like instead of talking about something and just coming to having a conversation that you want to have, you'll just be like, okay, like whatever, and then you'll just want them to come after you. But let me tell you something, is like people like Kyle and I, like we're not necessarily coming after you because we have our own shit to take care of first. Like this is number one seed, right? What's in front of us. And I'm not saying that you can't work your way to number one seed as somebody that's, an individual trying to work our way into our lives. However, you don't start that way. No. Sorry, like this has been at least not like 9 months of our lives. You don't just automatically come in and bump this out. That just doesn't happen. But people don't understand that they want to be number one priority to begin with. And instead of like working towards the future, they want to work towards the like now, like what's happening right now.
Right. And I was in a past relationship where Cam and I were just starting this business, and that person was like, they'd be like, oh, the thing out. I'd be like, no, I want to do a podcast with Cam. And this was before we really even had the business, and we were just doing podcasts because we liked it.
We were testing.
We were like, let's try recording, let's try editing, let's just see what the whole process is like. Right. And I would say, no, like I can't hang out today. I'm going to be doing a podcast with Cam. And their immediate reaction was, well, I'm not your first priority. That means I must not care. And I'm like... I was like dumbfounded. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not even, that's not it at all. I just, we hung out every single day for the past 4 or 5 days. I want to do this with, one of my good friends. Like, I was like, that's not what that means at all. It's like, you gotta have give and take. You gotta, if you want to go do something, go do it. Let that person, do whatever. If someone else wants to do something, support them. I think support is probably one of the biggest things. If you're shooting down someone's whatever invention they're trying to do, and I mean I think you're hurting them in the long run. You're delaying them from doing something that they might really want to do.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And this podcast was supposed to be like a New Year's resolution podcast. We haven't really gotten into that. We've been answering questions, but most embarrassing workout story.
Sorry, I know.
Like falling off the treadmill or something. That was the question.
They added falling off the treadmill.
Yeah, it was most embarrassing workout story. Question mark, like falling off the treadmill or something.
I've never fallen off the treadmill, but I went to a gym where like there were some pretty big dudes when I first started, and like I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest guy. Cam was taking lifting advice from me when he started, and now he's like quadrupled the size of me. So clearly, I'm not doing something right. I don't know what it is yet. But when I first started lifting, I would go to the gym, and I was with someone else his name's Ian. He's like, he was a lot bigger than I was, and I was kind of like learning off him. And we started doing a bicep curl machine. He was like, all right, we're going to start. So we hadn't even done anything yet. He's like, we're going to start with bicep curls. It's like, all right, sweet. Get my girls love biceps, right? Might as well just get it.
Yeah, man.
He put it on like 60 or something, did like 15, whatever. And I was like, all right. I get set up. I put my hands on the bar. It's like on like 30, couldn't move it. So like, all right, that's fine. It's like my first day lifting. I'll just move it to 20.
Right.
Move it to 20, get all set up and get ready. Didn't move. So I was like, all right, well, that's... I thought I'd get at least 20 pounds, but I was like, that's not a big deal. It's my first day starting. I'll just move it to 10. Move it to 10, get all set up again for the third time. It doesn't move. So now it's like, I'm like, all right, I just tried 20 pounds and it didn't move at all. And I have my friend who's with me, and he's like getting a little bit embarrassed. He's like, dude, are you like fucking kidding me? You can't
get up.
He's like, do you want me to help you move it a little bit first? And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of heavy. So I was like, whatever, I'll move it to 10, right? 10 pounds. 10 pounds. Can't be hard. Get all set up for the fourth time. Doesn't move. So I'm like, all right, at this point, I'm like, are you like pulling some like funny business? Are you like holding the plates down or something? I can't move it. No, just, sticking twigs. I was probably 120 pounds soaking wet when I first started lifting. So I, like, 10 pounds, couldn't even move it. I took the pin out and I still couldn't move it. I felt so defeated. I'm watching guys, like, bench 100 pounds on flat bench, and, like, they're curling 60s, and I'm, like, sitting there, I'm like, and my first thought was, everybody in this gym is probably looking at me like a loser. And come to find out, like, I can lift more than 20 pounds on the bicep curl now. And I'm just like, yep, claps. I'm making progress. But I'm thinking back, and I'm like, all right, if I'm at the gym and I'm seeing someone that can't lift that much, my first instinct isn't to just, like, start blasting them publicly, like pointing at them, do all these things. Like, I think self-consciousness is a huge thing in the gym, and, like, you have to realize, and you don't realize it until you've actually gotten through it. Nobody in the gym goes there to try to find someone that's doing something incorrect or can't do something well and just to make fun of them, right? Everybody that's going to the gym has a purpose for going there, and they're trying to better themselves. And when you're trying to better yourself, you have some type of insecurity before you even step into the gym that you're trying to get better at. And, I mean, that's what you're going in to focus on. You're not focusing on someone else that's doing something worse. If anything, you see someone that's doing something worse and you're like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better as myself. You're not sitting there recording them, doing, pointing at them, trying to draw all this attention to them. And so, I mean, that was probably the most embarrassing story. I couldn't curl the bicep machine with no pins on it. So
that's like my favorite story of you.
Yeah, it was one for the books for sure.
It is one for the books.
Yeah, good time.
I was kind of the opposite, and I think that you can attest to this, is that I started, like, in the gym when I was lifting, it was always by myself. Like, it was either you or Josh in there, or it was, like, me by myself.
Yeah.
So in terms of embarrassment, the only person I was embarrassing was, like, me, and in front of you or Josh, right? So it's like, and we're already friends at the time. I think the biggest embarrassments just would be me, to the point where I would be benching by myself, or like I'd be, so if I was benching by myself and I couldn't get it up, I'd have to just roll it off, right? You have to roll it off. I mean, I've squatted a few times in terms of, like, I had to drop it, and, like, I dropped it the one time with, like, 405 on it and bent the bar. So, like, the bar was literally, like, this shape now.
I don't even know if that's embarrassing.
It's not even embarrassing, but that's the thing, is, like, I don't have embarrassing stories because I perfected, like, my technique, my movements, because I had, like, 3 years to train by myself.
You never, like, farted in the gym or something in front of a bunch of people? Squat and just...
But, like, the gym, like, nobody's in that gym.
Yeah.
So, like, where I was at is nobody was ever in there. Like, I ran that thing because, 2 people were in there at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because, like, I would always go at hours where nobody was there. It's like, it was just...
Yeah.
But it did help me mold. I think that having that empty gym helped give me the confidence to build that strength. And building that strength allowed me to work those 4-hour shifts, basically, and turn me into what I am today in terms of, we're just coasting right now. But
yeah,
it was all for, like, I put in the work when I needed to put in the work, and I'm going to continue to put in the work whenever I wanted to put in the work, because, like, now it allows me to, Kyle and I were, we did a pretty decent job on a bottle of Woodford Reserve. Like, it allows us to do that, because we're just relaxed right now, chilling, answering viewer questions, so we can, hopefully provide some insight into what we do and what we're about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know how many questions you have left, but I do want to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, what are your thoughts on that, and what would be a New Year's resolution that you have for 2021?
So my initial thought on a New Year's resolution is that it's very silly. But I will say that, the reason I think it's silly is because I don't think you should have to wait to start something that you think that will, make some miraculous progress on the 1st of January, right? Like, I think it's silly in that aspect, but I also think that it's good because I think it gives someone a starting point to say, okay, I've wanted to do this for so long, and this is the day that I'm finally going to start doing it. All right, guys. We actually had a little bit of a technical difficulty there at the end of that last clip. But I wanted to clear up the New Year's resolution question that we were asked, just so you guys can all kind of take that with you heading into the new year. And so with New Year's resolutions, you don't have to wait for that January 1st date to start your resolution. If you start it before then, like for example, today's the 28th, so 4 more days until the new year. If you were to start that now, you'd be 4 days ahead of where you would be if you waited until January 1st to start that resolution. So New Year's resolutions are great. I think it's kind of silly for people to wait for a certain day of the year to start that resolution. I think that, the sooner you get yourself to do it, the better off you'll be, and you'll look back and you'll say, well, I'm really glad I started that then, as opposed to waiting until that certain day. But New Year's resolutions are great. I think that, if it's setting a time frame, saying, okay, on this day I'm going to start doing this, then that's awesome. I think that's important that people are setting that goal for themselves. But just remember, every day you don't start is just another day lost. So just keep that in mind moving forward. But wanted to thank everybody for sending in the questions. We had a ton of fun. If you want to view this, you can head over to our YouTube at Ironpulse Athletics on YouTube, and then at Ironpulse Athletics on Instagram as well. We're going to post the video that we took of the Q&A on there, so you can kind of see us and see our facial expressions and things like that. It's the same Q&A, so nothing different. But if you want to head over to Instagram, you can go ahead and continue to ask us any questions over DM. If you have either mine or Cam's numbers and you have any questions, feel free to text us. But wanted to personally thank all of you guys for sending in the questions. Like I said, we had a ton of fun doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast and also the video if you guys watch on YouTube. And no matter what you do, especially heading into the new year, remember to be all in.